So good morning, everyone.
Good morning.
So I am Reverend Melissa Hill Greenbaum, and it's been a while since I've been here, so it's very nice to be with you again. And how fitting to be here for the second Sunday of Advent and Peace. When I heard the vision statement and your mission statement, I thought, well, you guys just did the service. I don't know. I mean, there's some really great stuff there that comes out. It's wonderful how Spirit aligns us for what we need to hear today. And in fact, some of the things that I'm going to talk about today, I feel like I may have shared with you before some of it. Not all of it, but it bears repeating because peace is that important. So before we begin, I want to define terms because my title is Peace, Prayer, and Protest. How dare us bring the word protest into peace? So let's talk about what we are meaning by these words today. And the first two, peace and prayer, these definitions came right from the Revealing Word. And this is a collection of terms that Charles Fillmore put together, a metaphysical interpretation of these terms. So you'll know where that's coming from. So the first one is peace. Harmony and tranquility derived from awareness of the Christ consciousness. The key there is awareness of the Christ consciousness. So keep that in mind. Prayer, communion between God and man. This communion takes place in the innermost part of man's being. We already heard that this morning, didn't we? And Charles has a lot to say about prayer in the Revealing Word. There's about 2 pages. So this is just the first couple of statements, and this is the meat of it. So, and then protest. So protest has a lot of definitions, and depending on how you're using it, it can mean different things. I'm choosing to make solemn declaration or affirmation. Now, if you've been in Unity for a bit, the word affirmation may stand out to you. That's an important word in our movement. How interesting it shows up in Merriam-Webster. So let's dive in a little bit with prayer. The very word prayer has become toxic to all who are so wrapped up in anxiety and fear that pausing for just a few moments is quite overwhelming. And yet the very peace that we all seek in our world is a form of prosperity blinded by the appearance of chaos in the world. Are you following me? With me? And prosperity, when I'm using the term prosperity here, most of us think of prosperity with money, but this is a prosperity of peace. This is an abundance of peace that we're looking for. So prayer is the mode in which mental chaos cannot survive, even during a protest. And when I'm talking about protest, I'm not just talking about people standing on the street with their signs, but we protest every day when we talk to our family, when we talk to our friends. You know, we call them up because we saw something on the news and, gotta let it off. And that's protesting. So how do we do that from a place of peace? So I'm asking, is peace not the prosperity of God to fill the mind? Prayer is the power to unlock the good that awaits you. Pausing is the patience to trust, and prosperity of peace is the result, even in a protest, no matter what kind of protest it is. And the word prayer, it's making a public appearance more and more by community gatherings outside of our public places of government. And over a year ago, I noticed a Facebook friend who posted a photo of her, and she was attending a protest downtown at our city government offices. And the photo was her and her 11-year-old son. And the 11-year-old son, he's what caught my attention because of the poster that he was holding. And it said the word prayer on it. It had a circle around it, and it had a line through it. And underneath it, it said, "Action now." Well, what struck me was the paradox in this photo. Jesus often used paradox in his parables. And I found that this message of ridding oneself of prayer, quite a paradox. And why is that? Because our living is our prayer. And our acting is our prayer. So the very action of this boy announcing to others to stop praying was a prayer. The irony is that the living we're doing is the prayer. You're going to hear me say this over and over. Our lives are the prayer in action. Unity's fourth principle. What does it say? Through prayer and meditation, we align our heart-mind with Christ. And then number 5, through thoughts, words, and actions, we live the truth we know. We live the truth we know. Is your living, your prayer, attracting a prosperity of peace? In Jeremiah 29:12, it says, "When you call upon me and pray to me, I will hear you." When you call upon me and pray to me, I will hear you. Our living, our actions, call upon God continuously as a prayer. And you are being heard. You are being heard. So how are we presenting peace? Well, you may be thinking, Melissa, that sounds really good. But you know what? When you're protesting, there's no time to pause. We need a response now because we have to act now. Well, my friend and her son, they certainly felt that the idea of praying was not enough to change the situation they were there advocating for. And perhaps they knew prayer as an activity that appears quite passive, especially when it comes to changing community policy. But you and I know that the living that we are doing, whether it's at home or at the community protest, you and I know that we are living the prayer. We are being the prayer. And their actions that day at that protest and their words on the sign, whatever they were saying, they were prayers that day at that protest. So yes, you must act now. Pray, pray, pray. And then live live, live. Become the action that you're seeking. And this takes some patience. Downer W sound. Nobody wants to wait. Patience is so hard. So in the knowing, in that awareness of knowing, my friend's activity downtown was a prayer. That's where the power is. Remember our definition? Awareness, conscious awareness. That's where the power is. And so to release this power of prayer, it involves taking time to pause. I can hear you guys, Melissa. They're in the middle of a protest and you want them to pause? Yes, I do. Yes. Taking time to pause each day before you go to a public community event, during the event, and even afterwards, they're all great opportunities to remember that you are the prayer bringing forth God's good. You're the one bringing it forth. So the time that you take to pause is the time it takes for consciousness to rise and meet God's good. It's that fast. Despite what the appearances are during a community gathering, you pause, you demonstrate, knowing you're living in that moment is changing those around you. Psalm 37:7. Be still before the Lord and wait patiently for him. So, what if that sign that young boy was holding, what if it said, rise up, act now? Do you see how that message invites everyone in the community to feel like they can aid in the change that is needed, regardless of how the appearance may look? They consciously become a positive prayer in action. Catherine Ponder, I don't know if any of you are familiar with her. She is one of the, I call her one of the disciples of the Fillmores, classic author, prosperity author. And she wrote a book called The Dynamic Laws of Prayer. And I'm going to share this quote with you. It's a bit long, but it's so powerful. We might even have to say it twice. But listen to this. When you pray, you stir into action an atomic force. You release a potent spiritual vibration that can be released in no other way. Through prayer, you unleash God energy within and around you that gets busy working for you and through you, producing right attitudes, reactions, and results. Wow. Can you feel that? You feel the energy off that language? That's very powerful. Imagine taking that to a protest. Yeah. So, can you imagine if we all showed up at a protest ready to pray by our demonstration of being? I mean, how powerful would that be? We would be connecting with God and expressing a power of positive energy. It would probably go throughout the crowd like a fire, throughout a forest, a dry forest. So take the time to pray and allow a time of pause. God is stirring up a power to be expressed by you, by your praying, by your living. And this power brings forth a prosperity flowing as peace of mind. So yes, during a protest, you can be the prayer expressing peace of mind. This is an opportunity for prosperity to show up in your living. Even if it's running to grab the phone to call your relative and protest, you can still do that, but come from a place of pause and peace. I remember as a young teen watching a TV clip about the protest during the civil rights movement in the mid-1950s. And the clip that my history teacher was showing was a protest led by Reverend Dr. Martin Luther King, Jr. And what I remember most was how quiet the protesters were walking along the streets. They were prayer in action, and they were full of a peace of mind, so abundant that its energy could not be harnessed. You can watch those protests today, those clips, and you can feel their energy coming off that screen. They were prayer in action. They were a peace of mind that it released, as Catherine Ponder said, the peace of mind released among them, and it began working for them. That power. So I often think about that photo with my friend and her son lately, and perhaps because there's so much protest going on in recent months, and the protesting is abundant in our world right now. And it reminds me of the power that each of us has to set into motion the peace of mind that comes when we pause and connect. God bless you.
Thank you.
And I want us to know that when we show up like that, we begin to spread into motion, that others begin to respond to our peace of mind. When we connect with that God, we begin to observe our own lives as a prayer. So my charge to you is to pray, 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 and then live, live, and live. And I want to share a quote from Gandhi. And everyone knows a particular quote from Gandhi. But in my research, I found that it's not actually determined that Gandhi made that famous quote. But what he did say is, if we could change ourselves, the tendencies in the world would also change. As a man changes his own nature, so does the attitude of the world change towards him. We need not wait to see what others are doing. You are a living prayer. The next time that you're going to a community protest, pray up and take the time to pause. Demonstrate the prosperity of peace of mind so that all who witness will be so moved to see their own life as a prayer. Continually know that your life is a prayer every moment, every day. And you know what? Make signs for your protest that speak words for your heart's desire. And dismiss the temptation to stand against what you do not want. This is a double negative, which means we are putting our power into the very issue that we want to change about our community. So with affirmative prayer, we connect more deeply to the presence of God, and our greater good cannot help but become manifest in our lives and in our communities. And I want to leave you with a couple of thoughts. Napoleon Hill, one of my favorites, those of you that have participated in my Intro to Mastermind classes know how much I love Napoleon Hill. And the Napoleon Hill Foundation put together a compilation of his writings over all the years and put this book together, Pathways to Peace of Mind, Pathways to Peace of Mind. And Napoleon Hill said this in 1919. He would have been 36 years old, and if anybody knows their history, what was going on in 1919? The Red Summer Race Riots in Chicago. Time spent in hatred is not only wasted, but it smothers the only worthwhile emotions of the human heart and renders a person useless for constructive work. Thoughts of hatred do not harm anyone except the person who indulges in them. Very powerful. As you go forth this week, whether you're attending a protest or you're talking to your neighbor about protesting, demonstrate what the word prayer really means. Living our lives as prayer never calls us to dehumanize others. You hear that? Living our lives as a prayer never calls us to dehumanize others. So I leave you with peace, salam, shalom, shanti, and shi. God bless you. So we're going to go into a time of meditation now. And I invite you to get comfortable in your seat. You may want to make sure both feet are on the ground. And take a deep breath. And let that breath out slowly. Take another breath and bring that breath into our heart space. And as that exhale happens, feel your shoulders fall. And one more breath, intentional breath, that we can feel on the exhale our bodies being supported by the seat beneath you. And as you come into that heart space, know that this is the place that we connect with God right now. We connect to the power of peace. Affirm that I am peace. I am the living prayer. I am the good that God has created. It is with great joy that I recognize this peace in me. Take a deep breath. Feel the presence and the power of peace. It may be the brush of air across your face. See yourself standing tall as peace. See the ripple of your peace going out into the world. You are the light of peace. Let's move into a moment of silence so that you can hear peace right now. Peace, be still. As we give thanks for this opportunity to pause, to pray, to feel our power of peace. We carry this forth with us with great thanksgiving. And as you bring your consciousness back to this space and time, gently wiggle your fingers, wiggle your toes, softly open your eyes.